Good afternoon, folks. Today is the 24th of January, and I have just found another book in the Cameron High School Library that I would like to bring to your attention. I'm going to deviate from what I typically do, where I read the content to you, and I'm going to use this book as an example of what I think that the Board of Education needs to do and why it's important that they do it. It's been 11 months since we found the first sexually explicit books in the Cameron High School Library. For the duration of those 11 months, we continually ask the district and the Board of Education to do two things. Well, we ask many things, but I'm going to talk about two of those things today. We ask that the district do a deep dive into the books to find the rest of the content that is sexually explicit, that is abhorrent, that doesn't belong in the hands of the children. If we have found 200 books, there's probably at least double that that's really in the library. They will not do anything to look through that content to try to find the books that we haven't found. They won't allow us access into the library to look for ourselves, but they also refuse to go in and do that work. We've also asked that they create and pass policy that would prohibit books that contain descriptions, for example, of rape, of incest, of sadomasochist style abuse, to prohibit that content from ever being added to the library. If they don't create the policy that will prohibit content like this from being added to the library, they're going to add more every year. This is going to go on in perpetuity because there's nothing to stop this content from being added again. So the book that I found today is called A Clockwork Orange. And I'm going to highlight the tool, the resource that the school district says the parents need to use to identify the books they don't want their kids to read. And after they identify those books with this tool, we are to fill out their book restriction form. A book restriction form which they will not comply with, that they will still allow the child to access that book and to read it. So why they call it a book restriction form, I don't know, because they're not restricting anything. The tool that they tell us to use is Destiny, and that's what this symbol here is. I'm logged in through a third-party Follett, but this is Destiny, and I'm logged into the Cameron High School. The book in question is called A Clockwork Orange. Here it is, showing that it's available in the library for kids in the high school to read. So let's go in and look at the overview of this book. There's not a lot of details in here. There's not a whole lot of details that a parent can use to decide if they really want to restrict that book. While I'm recording this little addendum here, I just noticed the interest level for that Clockwork Orange book. It says right here it's adult to their child. There's a little bit bashing senior citizens in the eyes with bicycle chains, but it's really not telling us the worst part about this book. Let's get in here. Let's look at the related subject. So again, the Board of Education has said search by topic in Destiny and identify the books you don't want your kids to read. Let's look at the subjects here. Related subjects. This is what, if you search for criminals, this would be one of the books that would pop up. Science fiction English and science fiction. There would be thousands of books that would come up if we search for science fiction. So that's not going to get this book in front of us. This is also not going to show us the real content of what is in that book. Let me show you. So booklooks.org, A Clockwork Orange. They rate this book as 4 out of 5, not for minors, and say that it is for adults. So what's in here? A 15-year-old with a propensity for violence and sexual assault undergoes several transformations throughout his life. Summary of concerns. This book contains explicit sexual assault, violence, gore, derogatory terms, alternate sexualities, alcohol use and abuse by minors, illegal drug use by minors. I'm not going to go in and read the content of this particular book. If you're interested, you know how to find it. The explicit sexual assault that they're talking about, there's a lot of gang rape that goes on in this book. There is almost a full page that is describing the gang rape of a woman, where these boys, 15-year-old boys, assault this woman, cut her clothes off of her and take turns as they hold her down and violently rape her. When they talk about gore, they're typically cutting people and lamenting how beautiful the blood is. None of those concerns show up for a parent when they are using the only tool that the school district is providing, Destiny. Nowhere in the description of this book or the related subjects and topics for this book is any of that content there. The tool, the one tool that the school district is providing the parents to try to protect their kids from this abhorrent content is not adequate to the task. I've been telling the Board of Education for months the limitations of this program, yet they still insist that it is the responsibility of the parents to find the sexually explicit content in the library that they won't allow the parents to get into to read the books, and to submit a book restriction form that they are not going to honor, that they will still continue to allow that child to access every book that is listed on the book restriction form and read that content. The Board of Education knows this, the superintendent knows this, and they sit on their laurels and do absolutely nothing about it. Folks, if you want to see change in how your tax dollars are spent, talking about these books, and what content they're providing to our children, it is going to require you to speak up. My one voice is not enough to sway the opinion of that Board of Education. If they receive emails and calls from 100 of us, it significantly increases the chance that they'll finally do something. If it's just one voice, they have no incentive to change. They're going to continue to do absolutely nothing. This is not acceptable. This is not leadership. I don't know exactly what this is. They are spending more time and energy defending and excusing this type of abhorrent content than it would take to restrict these books. The Board of Education needs to hear from you. Go to the school district's website, go to Schools, Cameron R1 School District, click Menu, roll down to Board of Education, Board Members. Please go in here, copy all of these email addresses, email the Board of Education and ask them to finally do something. Ask them to protect our children.